Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, many people either on social media or even the mainstream news are predicting of when there will be the end to the dollar, right? Or when the dollar will cease to be the world reserve currency. And my stance over the longest period that I remember talking about this is that the dollar won't cease to be the world reserve currency, but who cares? What does it matter what your title is when what really matters is how significant are you? And it is the significance of the dollar worldwide, ladies and gentlemen, that will determine what you can buy with the dollars that you hold. HSBC predicts how long the US dollar will remain a global currency. As I've been saying all along, is that this is not what we really need to be looking at. What we need to be looking at is how much will the dollar be used throughout the world as the BRICS nations continue to join together and eclipse the use of the dollar by using their own system and currency, or just by simply bypassing the SWIFT system and using their own currencies to do bilateral trading. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? It means that the less that the dollar is used, the less that it will be worth, the less value that it will have, especially for those that are within the borders of the United States. It means that manufacturing will come back to the United States, but not for a good reason, but because we cannot afford to import things that are manufactured outside of our borders. Leading global bank HSBC has predicted the future of the US dollar, forecasting how long the currency can stay as the world's reserve. You have to understand, I keep trying to push this through, that it doesn't matter what they title the world currency to be it the dollar or anything else. What really matters is how much is that currency used worldwide, which is what gives it that value. Understand that what gave the dollar so much value for the last 50 plus years is that the OPEC nations agreed to sell oil only in dollars. So those nations that didn't have a lot of dollar reserves, if they wanted to buy oil, they had to have dollar reserves, meaning that they needed more dollars in the system, giving the dollar more value. Those days, ladies and gentlemen, are coming to an end, whether or not the US Federal Reserve note is called the reserve currency of the world. HSBC's security chief and commodity analyst said in an interview with Bloomberg that the US dollar has not faced any significant challenges except a blip in reserves. For the uninitiated, the central banks of BRICS and other developing countries have been dumping the US dollars and diversifying their reserves. What is this gentleman saying here is that everything that the BRICS has done thus far has not really affected the reserve status of the dollar in the world. But ladies and gentlemen, I will keep bringing this home because you need to protect yourself. And that is that they can call the US dollar the reserve currency of the world all they want. How much is it going to be worth to you to keep holding? And here he brings it home. He says central banks have been massively accumulating gold since 2022 after the U.S. pressed sanctions on BRICS members Russia for invading the Ukraine. The HSBC analyst explained that BRICS accumulating gold will have no impact on the prospects of the dollar. He stressed that the US dollar will remain a dominant currency for even after 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, that may be true. The thing is, it may be true, but the question is this: how much of your labor are you going to have to continuously give up because the interest on our debt continues to balloon upwards, and there's no other way to pay it except for taxation in a direct manner by borrowing from other nations and its own citizens, and or by taking from you through the power of inflation. We don't believe that there's going to be any loss of sovereignty for the US dollar as far as the world's reserve currency goes for the next 10 to 20 years, as far as we can see, for reasons that would take an entire program, and you could talk about it. He said, this is from an interview that they were talking in, and what he's saying is that the reserve currency will stay the US dollar. To me, that doesn't mean a thing. What means something to me is how much of my labor are they going to take from me via inflation in the next 10 to 20 years before the dollar is actually gone as reserve currency? And before we continue to the second part of this video, ladies and gentlemen, where we talk about some segments within the United States that will be greatly affected when the BRICS nations finally congregate together and ditch the dollar, I want to say thank you very much to the sponsor of this video, Genesis Gold Group. I'm not a financial advisor, but the folks at Genesis Gold Group specialize in helping those who want to diversify their excess wealth by converting their fiat currency retirement plans into a plan that is backed by real money. So if you're in a position where you are wondering what you can do in order to diversify or insulate your wealth against what I like to call the inferno of inflation, give Genesis Gold Group a call and they can provide you with the information that you need in order to make an educated decision. 3 U.S. sectors to be affected if and when the BRICS ditches the dollar. The BRICS alliance is aiming to uproot the U.S. dollar's global supremacy by promoting local currencies for trade settlements. Now here they're not saying that they're trying to uproot the Federal Reserve note's status as the world reserve currency, right? They're saying supremacy, meaning what? How much it's used around the world. BRICS wants to strengthen their native economies by cutting ties with the US dollar for cross-border transactions. The bloc is on a world tour convincing developing countries to use local currencies for trade and not the US dollar. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you were a developing country, what would you do when you see what has happened here within the US and how the US uses its powers? The US government, okay? Some people always get triggered. Oh, AP, you're not patriotic. No, it's the US government, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at what they've done for the last several years. How they've bullied around a nation after nation after nation. How they've plainly stolen money from other countries because they don't agree what they're doing with. Now all of these nations are taking a look at that and saying, man, do I really want to hold that many US dollars and risk losing it just because one entity in the entire world doesn't agree how I'm governing my country? It's only a matter of time. And here they continue to say that the development will affect several financial sectors in the US, leading to a market decline in the coming years. You have to protect yourself. If BRICS ditches the dollar for trade, the US currency will return to the homeland, leading to hyperinflation, they say. What do they mean by that? That means that there's so many dollar bills floating around outside of our borders that if all of these countries, which will make up more than half of the world's population, if it doesn't already, they're going to stop using the US dollar. So where is the US dollar going to go? It's going to go home where it was created, here in the United States. What happens when more dollars chase the same amount of goods? The price of those goods go up in dollar amounts. All right. And it says here 3 sectors that stand to be directly affected if BRICS dumps the dollar for trade will be banking and finance, technology and fintech, and consumer goods and retail. And for us, the common folk out there, ladies and gentlemen, number 3 will be the one that affects us the most. Why? Because right now in the United States of America, about half of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. They're barely able to put food on the table. What's gonna happen when the cost of everything that they need in order to live goes up by 25, 30, 50%. Their standard of living is going to go down greatly. First and foremost, the financial and banking sector will be the hardest hit as foreign exchanges will begin to decline. The Forex markets run on supply and demand, and if the demand for US dollars dips, the US central bank will find it hard to import the dollar. And here they explain it a little bit better than I just did. If the central banks of BRICS countries don't accumulate dollars, so if they don't hoard dollars, the US will see its currency returning home. Moreover, the U.S. has been importing its inflation to other nations for years, and return of the currency will lead to hyperinflation in the homeland. We have had quite a run of making paper notes and trading it for real goods and services, ladies and gentlemen. And I've been saying that that will one day come to an end, or it will be greatly brought down to where things are going to cost a lot more, because so many dollars are going to come back home. They say that secondly, Technological sector will take a hit as inflation in the U.S. leads to jobless losses. Additionally, multinational corporations have to shell out more money to keep businesses afloat and stay at the top without sinking. BRICS can bring down the U.S. economy if they stop accepting dollar for payments. We are going to be living hand to mouth, just like they do in other nations. Ladies and gentlemen, all of those trillions of dollars of debt that we've accumulated in the last 50 years is stuff that we took from the future. And now we're going to have to pay the piper. We're going to have to pay all of that labor, all of that time, all of that energy back. And what's going to happen when we start paying it back? It's going to take a lot more of our energy to get the same things because we're paying back from the past. I hope that makes sense. It's the best way that I can explain it. And here they finish it up by saying, lastly, in conclusion, the everyday consumer goods in the retail sector will see prices skyrocketing. Everyday consumer goods. Also, inflation will take a grip on the markets, leading to prices of day-to-day commodities turning expensive. Gasoline, food, daycare, just any kind of stuff that you need in order to sustain your standard of living, tires, any kind of fluids for your vehicle, hamburgers, vegetables, anything and everything, ladies and gentlemen, will be worth more in multiples, not just one or two. Moreover, the Biden administration must act quickly to counter BRICS and stop the decline of the U.S. dollars. In my opinion, this administration wants America to fail, and they will do no such thing. All you have to do is look at their actions in the past several years. It's not even political. It's just look at what they've done. And in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, it can't be that they're that stupid. They cannot be that stupid to do the things that they've done to the United States of America in the last several years. That's what I think. Go ahead and put your thoughts in the comments. Other than that, we'll see you tomorrow with a news video. I haven't put one out in a few days, but tomorrow we will. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.